Now, here is another clip from Obama's inauguration speech.
What the cynics fail to understand is that the ground has shifted beneath them. That the stale political arguments that have consumed us for so long no longer apply. The question we ask today is not whether our government is too big or too small, but whether it works, whether it helps families find jobs at a decent wage, care they can afford, a retirement that is dignified. Where the answer is yes, we intend to move forward. Where the answer is no, programs will end. And those of us who manage the public's dollars will be held to account to spend wisely, reform bad habits, and do our business in the light of day, because only then can we restore the vital trust between a people and their government. Nor is the question before us whether the market is a force for good or ill. Its power to generate wealth and expand freedom is unmatched. But this crisis has reminded us that without a watchful eye, the market can spin out of control. The nation cannot prosper long when it favors only the prosperous. The success of our economy has always depended not just on the size of our gross domestic product, but on the reach of our prosperity, on the ability to extend opportunity to every willing heart. Not out of charity, but because it is the surest route to our common good. As for our common defense, we reject as false the choice between our safety and our ideals. Our founding fathers, faced with perils that we can scarcely imagine, drafted a charter to assure the rule of law and the rights of man, a charter expanded by the blood of generations. Those ideals still light the world, and we will not give them up for expedience sake. And so, to all the other peoples and governments who are watching today, from the grandest capitals to the small village where my father was born, know that America is a friend of each nation and every man, woman, and child who seeks a future of peace and dignity, and we are ready to lead once more.
Well, there were so many parts in that little clip that I loved so much. And, you know, upon watching it a second time, I think this speech is even better than I originally suspected. And I thought it was a very good speech.
I'm surprised you thought that.
Here's a couple parts I loved. In the beginning when he said, the nation cannot prosper long if it only favors the prosperous. That is a very good theme on the economic side.
Populist remark.
And a democratic remark, and one that is true, and that has proven to be true over the last several decades. And then on the foreign policy side, when he said, we are ready to lead once more. And he stressed the theme of balance in this clip, which is not if, you know, we should do too much government or too little government, but what's the right amount of government? Does a program work or does it not work? Not do we need more programs or less programs. It's similar to a theme that I emphasize on the show from time to time, because it isn't whether we should have tax cuts or tax increases. The question is, where should taxes be? Where is the optimal level? Because framing it as cuts or increases is just politics.
Right.
The real question is where it should be. And I love that theme of balance. And then when he said, look, we are not going to sacrifice liberty for the sake of security. And then they showed a crabby bush. That was rich.
Well, also, you know, I don't think that was necessarily. I mean, this segment had the most pointed anti-Bush sentiments in it, and I think that was one you keyed on. And then when you said we shall lead once more, I took that as we haven't led now for a little while, and now it's time for us to lead again. And that also is a pointed reference to the Bush administration, the fact that they have taken us out of any kind of leadership in the world, even leadership that we had once usurped. I still think that he certainly mitigated anything that would make us the leader. That George Bush did that. And so I think those were the areas where President Barack Obama pointed to the Bush administration, which I think you have to do to a degree when you're coming on the heels of that. So.
Right. And two reasons why we didn't lead under Bush. I'm sure, although in Bush's mind he's a fantastic leader, right? He views himself as the decider, the leader, right? But it's because we didn't have the trust of the world. So if we said, all right, we're going this way, the world would be like, we're not really interested.
But we didn't have the trust of the world, not just because they didn't trust us, because we abandoned every ally we had. I mean,
that's point number two.
And,
yes.
Yeah, and we walked away from agreements, and we walked away from organizations and covenants, and that's why. I mean, and that is point number two, I guess you were going to say.
Yes. Now, the other ironic part of that clip was that as he had a couple of pointed remarks that seemed to refer to the previous administration, certainly not by name, but almost unavoidably by inference, right? He still sounded post-partisan. He said, let's put this stuff aside about how much government or how much this or how much that, are the conservatives right or the liberals right. Let's work together to find out what the right balance is.
Yeah, and if spending, well, I'm not just going to spend to spend. If spending on something makes sense, we'll spend it, but we'll keep track of it. Which, it goes, and I'm speaking out of order, because earlier in the show we were talking about that, and oversight and giving money, and he's speaking about it here. He's saying we have to do it responsibly, which is refreshing, because we haven't heard anybody say that from the White House, certainly, in a while.